Hello watch enthusiasts! Now today I'd like to speak about something which I'm often emailed about, and I do receive several emails a month asking about straps, about where to buy them, and about what to look for, really every price range, because it's true that straps are something which are under-discussed, I feel, on YouTube, in terms of speaking about what is available on the market and also what you can look for to get something which is really good value. Because I think very often people either go for more affordable straps and are often unsatisfied because the quality just isn't up to the standards. And similarly, at the higher price ranges, often one doesn't have a great deal of choice with regards to whether you're buying something which will fit or not. And also there are some questions and quibbles about choosing, for example, alligator skin, whether it's the origins of the leather itself, or just the way it'll fit, the comfort on the wrist and all of that. Also, I do receive a lot of questions about watch rolls and watch storage when travelling. So I think this is a nice opportunity to be able to show something which is a little bit different. And I will point out that this video I'm speaking about a particular brand which is Finn watch straps, and I've worked with them before in terms of producing videos of their straps. And so it's nice to be able to show something which specifically answers questions which I've had. And so as I start this video, I would like to point out that I am being allowed to keep these objects because they've been made to my specifications. So I would like to make that very clear for full disclosure at this point in the video, because I feel that's very important. Although I will also point out that these are straps and items which I choose for my own personal collection, so there is a certain other aspect to the fact that I support the brand anyway. I receive a number of emails very regularly asking me to review straps and watch rolls and other items, which I most often decline because I wouldn't suggest the strap or the object to a friend, and so I feel it's completely inappropriate to suggest it on my channel whether I'm being given the item or not. So I would like to point that out at this stage. But in this video I really would like to address the different aspects of having a strap which is made bespoke at a reasonable price range, which is something which is often inaccessible or very difficult to get hold of. And so firstly I'd like to speak about an option for a more affordable strap, which offers you a great deal of value, but also something which you can really have made to your specifications. Now, presented here on my Seiko 55 Fathoms, I have a strap which I think satisfies an affordable market for a strap which is durable and also very luxurious in terms of its feel on the wrist. Because whilst distressed leather does tend to sell for quite a high price, because in terms of the attractions to watches at the moment, the vintage look for a watch is very popular. So I think it's probably appropriate to pair it with this Seiko 55 Fathoms. I have this Charles F. Stead leather strap, and the attractive aspect of this strap and what really caught my eye is the fact that it's a UK-made leather. So you know the origins of the leather, you know where it's from, which is something I appreciate. When a lot of straps, there's a certain amount of question as to where the leather itself comes from, as well as the lining too. And this is an unlined leather strap, which is very honest about its appearance. It is this distressed, waxed surface, which means it is water repellent to a degree, which is something attractive and durable about it. But also it's a very, very supple leather, and I think it's very typical of this distressed style in terms of having a patina which develops over time. As well as the fact that this strap is a suede-style leather, and that's to say that the suede is produced by cutting leather underneath to give this very soft surface underneath, which feels beyond normal suede because it has this slightly rough surface, which is really perfect for having on the inside of a strap, so that it's against the wrist. But I think the real quality of this strap, which even including VAT is under €60, so around the £50 mark, you're able to have a completely bespoke strap. So by that I mean that this strap is able to be cut and produced to exactly your specifications, whether it's the length of the strap, the width of the strap, or the taper of the strap, including the buckle finish. You're able to have all of this with no additional price for that particular price that this strap is offered for. So I think it's a very appealing choice for someone who wants something which is comfortable, but also is a strap which will be very durable over time, whilst also being perfect in terms of a fit on the wrist. And it's seldom the case that you're able to find a bespoke strap made for this price. And so the fact that this leather is both very durable and good quality, but still is attainable for this sort of price, is a nice balance. And whilst not offering quite the luxurious quality of the other straps I'm showing in the video, it does give you a very durable and comfortable fit, which I think is exactly what you want for this price range. And really my only complaint is that I would have appreciated a slightly more distinctive buckle, which is something which is expensive in terms of tooling and creating a bespoke buckle for these. But I think it would be nice to see that to match the strap, though of course you can just swap this buckle out for something of your own choice. Now, where luxurious leather straps are concerned, Often people tend to go directly for alligator skin, for instance, or very high-grade calf skin. But I think that it's worth pointing out there are other options on the market which are available, and options which give you something a bit different. And I think even for the price of around £150, straps do tend to come in single sizes, and so it is very refreshing to find materials which you don't normally find from large-scale strap manufacturers offered in a bespoke style, so you're able to have them made exactly to your specifications, rather than settling for something which is off the shelf, which frankly for that sort of price range is difficult to stomach, especially when spending this sort of money on a strap, irrespective of the fact that one often sees adverts for very expensive pieces. It is a big investment for anyone, so I think it's worth making that a suitable occasion to have something made specifically for you. And the first choice of material, before I speak about this rather interesting one here, is what I have on this beautiful 1959 Universal Genève. And this is a stingray skin strap. And what this offers really is a very different finish, a very different feel to what you would normally get from, for example, calf or alligator. Now, in the first instance, it's much stiffer than you would get in either of those other materials, because this is a style of leather which is very resistant to the elements. It's completely water resistant, it's also fire resistant, and also highly tear resistant, which is something that a lot of people do appreciate, because it's a leather which, whilst also a very luxurious look with this polished surface, it's a leather which does give you this resistance to the elements, which is appreciated, especially if you're going for something like, for example, a sports watch and a leather strap, as I've seen watches like Omega Seamaster 300s on straps of this sort, which I think suits the design and the style perfectly. But even on a dress watch, I think these straps are beautifully made. Now, they're wax-sided, as you can see, which is a traditional approach for finishing the edge of a strap like this, especially since it's quite a rough surface, and so as a result needs something along the edge to just smooth that division between the top and the calf skin backing, which is, I think, a good choice, bearing in mind that it's quite an abrasive surface, and so having the hole inside in that material will perhaps be uncomfortable, whereas having this ultra-smooth leather on the inside is really just perfect for making this strap both much more comfortable, but also much more supple than having a double-sided layer of this stingray skin. Now, in terms of the origins of this skin, it is fully certified, and you can request certification for it, as these leathers, including that ostrich skin down there, both come from Italy and do come with all the documentation. So you can be sure about the origins of the straps, and of course they are made, like all the other straps from this brand, in Finland by hand. So if you order a strap, it will be made following your order, which is something which I appreciate. And the prices for these do range, but sit around the €100 range when you're looking at these pieces. And I think for this sort of material, that's an acceptable price to pay. So that'll come to £80 or £90. And of course, this depends on the specifications you have in the end. And you can specify them with quick release bars, although I must say I tend to prefer having normal spring bars on these watches, because it means that you can select the spring bar for the watch rather than having one defined choice, although that's a very personal choice. Of course, you do also still specify the tapering of the strap, the choice of length, and also the buckle. Although I must admit, I think for this price it would be nice to see a slightly more ornate buckle, especially when you're paying this sort of price for them. But nonetheless, it does the job, and suits the straps perfectly in terms of not damaging them, when one finds a lot of more exotic clasps or buckles which tend to have a negative effect on the holes in the straps. But of course one doesn't have this with this rather attractive surface and a very high durability of this particular material. But looking to another material which I think shows something very different, and I think is an attractive alternative to something like alligator skin, but at a more affordable price, and also with a very different feel on the wrist, a more supple feel, is ostrich leg. Now, usually when one sees ostrich skin, it's on, for example, a JLC Reverso, with the traditional surface which is from the body of the animal, and so one sees the base of each quill, so with these dots on its surface, whereas the leg is very different and looks far more reptile, far more reptilian than like a bird's skin. And I think this is rather an attractive look, because you get a very different graining, as you can see, from this very fine graining to these much broader surface areas across it. And of course this depends upon your specifications, with many different sizes being available and the price not changing from one size to the next, which I appreciate. And of course this comes with the same choices, although with this, because it has full stitching, you get the extra choice of being able to choose your colour for the stitching, in addition to any other details which you might want, whether it's the tapering of the strap, the lug width, in addition to the buckle finishing. And again, they've used a rather simple buckle, which would have been nice to see something more complex. These are also backed with horsehide, which gives a nicely finished backing to the strap. And also I think the contrasting colour is just something to appreciate when you're putting on the strap or removing it, which just gives you an extra sense of enjoyment, I think, when using this particular style of strap. And of course, I've decided to present it here on this Baume Mercier from the early 70s, with a very interesting Buren micro-rotor movement, which is something of an era when micro-rotors were viewed as the future of very slim automatic watches. So I think this strap suits it perfectly, especially for this display. But I think that it's an interesting choice of strap if you want something very different. And by comparison to Alligator, firstly, I think a lot of people prefer this for just the choice of animal, but also it's a much more supple feel on the wrist, and so will feel much more like calfskin than the much harder surface you'll get with Alligator unless you go for very highly expensive pieces. And so I appreciate that, because you don't have to break in the strap. It is supple and very comfortable from the start. And having worn this strap for a little while now, I can say that it is very comfortable on a daily basis, without any sort of irritation which one often gets with new straps being very firm on the wrist. And so I think these are both very interesting options if you're looking for something a bit different, for a simultaneously affordable, considering the material, but also luxurious choice for a strap for a dress watch or a sports watch alike. Now for this second part of the video, I would like to speak about watch rolls, because I also receive emails regarding these, because often looking on the market, these do cost a very large amount of money for leather options. Now you can often find canvas options for under £100, but still for a canvas watch roll that is a lot of money to spend, especially when it's something which you'll only use when travelling, because most people will put their watches in perhaps a box when they're at home. But I think it's nice to be able to find an option which can carry a large amount of watches, or watches and watch straps, without spending a fortune. Because often from a lot of brands one finds that watch rolls, which can accommodate, for example, 5 watches like both of these can, will cost in excess of £200, which is a lot of money to spend on an item which you won't use every day. And so I've asked Finwatch straps for a couple of options here, display in the video. And so these are 2 5-watch rolls, one in Reindeer Hide and the other in Italian Botero calf. And they're 2 interpretations of watch rolls which come in at much more affordable options, with the Italian roll costing between €45 or 55 with VAT to about 93 with VAT, and then the Reindeer one costing a fair bit more, but with different qualities, which I'll point out when I speak about it. But I think that both offer a great deal in terms of being something which is very usable, but also something which is more affordable if you want to use it on a less regular basis, as is so often the case with these travel rolls. Now I feel that the option which will suit the vast majority of people is this Italian Botero calf leather option. And this version comes at a slightly lower price than the version in Reindeer Hide, but also it's a choice which has a very particular surface, which is a little bit harder, but also means that you get this interesting surface pattern, but also the fact that the surface can be bought in a variety of different colours and variants, for everything from much brighter colours to much more subdued colours, depending upon your particular taste. But all of them have the aspects which are that the outside is somewhat harder, but still has a very supple surface to it, as you can see, whilst also having a very soft interior. Now all of them are secured by this belt, also in leather, which is very attractively finished in black, with a choice of different buckles. This one has this brass style of buckle, but there are different options available depending upon what you fancy. But I appreciate the fact that they've fitted it with several holes, as well as a true buckle. A lot of these feature a type of attachment which only offers one closure, and so it's nice to see a manufacturer making one where it can accommodate a number of watches of different thicknesses while still maintaining security, without it being either too open or simply too tight. Also, a lot of manufacturers at this particular price range just offer a drawstring which goes through, rather than offering a full buckle, which again is much more secure. And so having undone this, the inside of the roll is very much what you would hope to protect your watches. It's fully protected by this upper section, and something which is not often seen from manufacturers, where often at more affordable levels it only reaches so far or perhaps so far, and once closed often this can ride up and thus allow the watches to bump into each other, which is not something you want. So the choice to add a bit of leather there at the expense of the manufacturer is appreciated. And the inside, due to the finishing of the leather, is this very, very soft suede, so there's no concern that the watches will be scratched or damaged in any way through transit. And especially at this sort of price range, it's often a concern that watch rolls, especially under £100, only offer 1 or 2 slots, whereas here, for around £100, you're able to get 5 slots, which means that you really have the flexibility of travelling with, say, 3 watches and having extra straps, or filling out the whole roll. So it gives you flexibility, and the stitching is excellent with a very, very consistent weave, which is something nice to look for when often handmade pieces at lower price ranges are a little bit more loose in terms of the way they're executed. This really is beautifully made. And of course, leather itself is Italian, but is made and put together by hand in Finland. So you do have this this bespoke quality, and the fact that you can specify the particular choice of buckle, as well as the other choices with regards to size for the particular roll in question. But aside from this, there is a more expensive option, which is Reindeer Hide, which offers a very different feel, and something perhaps for the more technical watch enthusiast. Of course, Reindeer Hide has a very different sort of surface texture to that Italian calfskin. Certainly it's a less glamorous look, it's a much more technical sort of look, with a much softer and far more subdued surface finish. And so it looks far more like nubuck in many ways than normal leather. And I think this is also appropriate considering the fact that its surface is very resistant to the elements, as well as being a surface which is very warm in clothing, for example. And so is rather appropriate for a watch roll in terms of being a very durable choice, but also one for someone who wants something a little bit less flashy, but something which nonetheless will protect their watches very, very well. And one major advantage of this over, for example, the Italian calfskin hides, is that due to the fact that it's a much more flexible leather, your watches will sit inside it with a much tighter fit. And this works very well if you're travelling with it with a small bag, for example. You don't get it to expand to such a large size once it's filled with watches, because it is more flexible, but also more elastic, which is something which I think is highly underrated and also highly underappreciated when you look at buying one of these, as often these matters simply aren't discussed, and they do make a real difference when you're using them. Of course, the configuration of this is very similar, with the same buckle arrangement, which is still very secure, and once open, as you can see now, it will still unroll in the same fashion to show 5 slots for this particular piece, but is also available going up to 7 slots, and is more expensive with 2 slots costing €75, and then going up from there. But I think considering the fact that the leather is a more premium leather in terms of sourcing it, but also the fact that it's a leather which does offer these other characteristics, it's an interesting choice if you're travelling with more watches, hence the fact that this goes up to 7 watches rather than the 5 of the Italian leather. The inside is perhaps even softer, with this very fine suede surface, and of course each of these pockets still maintain that same finish, with the same impeccable stitching all the way through, which is something I appreciate, and especially when travelling with a roll, if one does worry about bumping the watches together, you really do want a very soft leather to separate them, so I think these are an ideal choice for that. And of course this does come at a higher price than the calfskin, but still is affordable in the grand scheme of things, considering the other options on the market available for these watch rolls of this particular style. And so I think with either choice you're getting a very interesting package, and one which will serve for years to come, which is what you want when investing this amount of money in an object of this price. Of course, I hope that in this video I've offered these options as valid options for people who have asked me questions in emails, because as a result of the questions which I have been asked, it's something which is a pleasure to produce, to be able to produce a video to give some answers and some options where often it's very difficult to purchase these objects, knowing the quality you're going to receive. So I hope I've been able to help in that regard. Now, I have been offered a discount code to you, a 15% discount code, which is now on the screen, and I would like to make absolutely clear that I don't receive a penny from this discount code. I'm not being paid at all with regards to any sort of financial reward for the use of this discount code. It simply has been offered to me because I'm producing the video anyway, so I hope you accept that, because I feel that is also important to make clear when a lot of discount codes are used for the gains of the person producing the video, where that really isn't the case here. But I'll conclude this video here, and I hope that this video has been helpful, as I think it does cover some options which perhaps haven't been considered in the world of straps and also watch rolls for travel, which I have been asked about. And so thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then do like, share and subscribe, and also do follow me on Instagram at the address, which is now on the screen, to be able to see more content in future, and also content which otherwise wouldn't be available here on the channel. So thank you very much for watching. This is Arm on the Watch Guy, out.